Right, it's time for quick picks. Controversially, it's 999. 999.
Is it?
Score, yeah.
Oh well, my 1 point lead after week 1
dwindled.
Yeah, but I presumed I'd fallen behind actually because I had such a rotten week last week.
Did you?
Yeah, well, I got both of the hurling runs wrong by a point.
There were...
well, I suppose 2 points technically. I would have had to pick the other team.
Yeah, it's not close. It's like...
I think you were also on the off-lead train.
If we had an extra time winner, what happens?
The guys in the Tribune used to say that Kevin Cashman, people would go, the shot was unlucky when it hit the bar. And he's like, no, it's a bad shot. It hit the bar. You're supposed to hit the goal. It's hit the goal. You with your, I missed by 1 point. You didn't. You missed by 2. It's a bad call.
From memory, if it goes to extra time, the result is a draw, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what we've called this before.
No, it's winner
on the day.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Let's have that stated on the record now.
So no more draws after this weekend, really.
Yeah. Well, there was no more draws after last week. Oh, sorry. This is Gaelic Football.
Stage, yeah.
Gaelic Football. Of course. Yeah.
And I think I got a couple wrong in the old Tailteann Cup as well.
So okay. So after this week, then.
But I'm level. Okay, right. And Shane's got a proxy this week as well. So.
Yeah, you got 2 right last week. You had 7 right the first week. 7 out of 7 the first week. So there was only 6 games last.
2 out of 6 the second week. Just to show you that it meant absolutely nothing on week 1.
33%.
It's consistency.
Yeah, he's still on 9 though. Shane does have a proxy this week. Paul Shaughnessy is doing it first. So we expect better results than it would have been if Shane. Shots fired. The games this week, right? All-Ireland Senior Football Championship, Saturday at 6, Monaghan versus Donegal. Sunday at 1:45, Roscommon Kildare. Sunday at 2 o'clock, Cork versus Mayo. Tailteann Cup, Saturday at 5:15, Cavan versus Down. And the All-Ireland Preliminary Hurling Quarterfinals, Saturday at 5 p.m, Carlow versus Dublin. I think we can predict that everybody's gone for the dubs in the hurling. Yeah?
Yeah, we can just skip that if you want.
Slightly nervously, but yeah.
Yeah, so let's just skip that and let's get back to the first one, right? So Shane's proxy picks for the weekend. We're going to start with Monaghan versus Donegal. We're going with Monaghan, which is fair enough from Shane's.
I was going to say
Paul was going to do Donegal. Yeah,
he's not reflecting the initial picker if he doesn't pick Monaghan there. I presume we're jumping straight into this.
Go for it, yeah.
Like I am going to go for Monaghan as well, but I did have a little bit of trouble with it because I feel like Donegal, compared to where they started the year and where we, during the league and first round of the championship, where we all had them as almost cast aside as an afterthought, that win against Clare, I think, just kind of seemed to enlighten something in them. And I watched most of that Derry match. I know they lost by 3 goals, right? But it didn't feel like a 3-goal game, and it felt like that they were at least, if not quite on Derry's level, then they were able to live with them. It didn't look like a massive mismatch or anything, Now obviously we know that Monaghan are at that level too, but
Paddy McWearty's back, came off the bench in that Derry game, kicked a point, is named to start.
Yeah,
Gavan is obviously flying at the moment, so
they look more like the Donegal that we know, if not quite real life All-Ireland contenders at this stage. But I wouldn't say Monaghan are All-Ireland contenders as well. That said, I just think that Monaghan will, like, Monaghan's firepower. Jack McCarron was unbelievable against Clare the last day, and I think they'll have too much for Donegal just about, though.
I think Donegal are still missing too many of the important players that they had last season, despite the fact they've turned it around a little bit since getting into the group stages of this championship. There's also part of me that wonders, I was listening to Maurice Brosnan talking about earlier, that actually finishing in third place looks like it's quite a disadvantage, having to go away from home 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
In the Tailteann Cup last week, a couple of teams won on the road and they still qualified, but it's difficult if you finish up in third place to actually have to go week on week away from home both weeks.
This doesn't count as an away from home week, really, because both
it's a neutral week. But no, what it means, if you finish in third place, your preliminary quarter-final will be against the second place team at home, and you'll also be away from home in the quarter-final against a team who have won the group.
You're not getting through is the point not. So you do think some teams who will finish third will be able to get through the preliminary quarterfinals?
I think it'll be a lot trickier. I think that's the benefit of coming in second place. I know we debated a million times over that 2 teams should only come out of the group, but third place puts you at a disadvantage now.
And the games will be good, knockout and all jeopardy.
But do you
wants.
think? Okay, but I want an honest answer here, because I know you're dug into the fact that you think this is good, right? I'm not saying that actually won't matter come next week, but this week Monaghan and Donegal are togging out. They know they've bigger game next week. They absolutely know it's do or die next week. It's knockout championship. Are you telling me they're thinking ahead, thinking, oh, we really need that home game, we really need that away game?
Clonus. Clonus or
Yeah,
Ballyfay.
I know, but I just feel like it happened. I just feel like when it comes to it, they're looking ahead and they're not going to. I'm not saying they're not going to give the 50%. I'm saying it's just that extra 5%.
Well, I think that the difference between finishing first and second is a bye week, which in most sports at knockout stages we understand is absolutely mission critical to success.
Yes.
Almost impossible to overcome teams who have been coming off a bye week if things are run properly. I suspect that's going to hold true for Gaelic football as well, particularly because of the teams involved, maybe with the exception of Kerry. We'll see. But I definitely think the difference between like being in Killarney for Kerry and being somewhere other than Killarney for Kerry is big enough for them to go, this is now it.
Yeah.
This is the start of it.
I don't doubt that it will matter come it. I do wonder if they're thinking, right, this is the run. If we're going to do this is a run of 3 weekends in a row, and the other 2 games are more important than this one. And it's not that they don't think they want to win. It's not that they're even trying to convince themselves, that we want to stay in Killarney. It's just that when it comes to it, it's not as important.
Well, I think that's bad management if you can't get into your players. The importance, because there is no third game, by the way. This is 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And you're like an extra. I think it's going to be Bear Pits next week. I think everybody who's been like, oh, will we go to the game? We'll hang on for the wildcard weekend and we'll go to that one. I think there's going to be full houses next week and everybody's going to be like, oh, this is actually really good, isn't it?
Well, this group
next week is got to be incredible.
Yeah, but this group is the perfect test group for that theory as well, because it's the only one where 3 teams know that they've qualified in some way before the final round of fixtures. So now we see who's going to jockey for position or not.
It's a fair point that Will is making here. So the amount of jeopardy they have is somewhat lessened. But I think also, correct me if I'm wrong, but the difference between finishing third and second is more likely that you're going to play a really good team. The second place teams are all going to be quite good.
Yeah, you're probably talking Roscommon, Kerry,
Armagh or Tyrone, probably Tyrone,
and one of these 2. So Monaghan.
Therefore, if I'm Monaghan, I'm absolutely trying my eye strings out not to play Kerry
or Roscommon,
Tyrone or Roscommon, and because you could get Kildare or Sligo, you could get one of these 2. Who else am I?
Can't play the team that are obviously in your own group either. So
yeah.
Who can you get? You can get who's third in Mayo and Kerry's group.
Cork.
You're probably looking at Armagh or Westmeath.
I mean, come on, these are like absolutely. Do I want a Division 1 team or a Division 3 team? Should we try, lads, this week? What do you think?
Look, I'm not saying they shouldn't try, and I'm not saying they won't try. I don't think it's like a throwaway game. I'm not even suggesting that. I'm just thinking that I think the jeopardy will be a factor when it comes to it.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So you're all saying
it's Monaghan across the board.
So Monaghan, 3 Monaghans. Sunday at 1:45, Roscommon against Kildare.
Sorry, Ger.
Yeah, I was too keen on Kildare performing well against Dublin. Stung on that week. Not going to predict them to win until tomorrow.
I think Kildare will qualify on points difference. I think Dublin will beat Sligo, and Kildare will qualify on points difference.
A proud moment
without winning a match for 2 months.
Look, Laois didn't.
That's what Arthur pointed that out recently. They'll have qualified without winning a match for 2 months.
Yeah. Well, look, Laois
in the new system where they play every week.
Laois didn't win a group game. They're playing the quarter-final in the Tailteann Cup this weekend, so it's already happened in the other competition.
Kildare 4-point underdogs at the moment for that game.
I kind of fancy Roscommon to win by a bit more than 4, but
yeah, and I haven't even looked for the Dublin Sligo odds, but I presume it's double digit, is it?
So what do Roscommon have to do to top the group? Where are we on points
They're
difference?
They're a point ahead as it stands.
Right. Okay. So there is whatever about talking about second and third jeopardy. Roscommon have a lot to play for here. They have to play for that week off.
To run up a score, but if there's a prospect of them running up a score, what do? Do you whip off all of your key players
and just settle for the second place and make sure you have everyone fit?
Yeah, because there's no prospect of them finishing other than second. So do you wait and see if Dublin open with a barrage of goals in the first 10 minutes? Do you take everybody off and go, all right, this is a training game?
Do you pretend you're not paying any attention to what's happening in Breffni Park at the same time?
No, but if they lose, they'll be on 3 points with Kildare, and they'll finish third on the head-to-head.
Yeah,
but even With their changes, they're not going to lose, are they?
Oh yeah, so even if they whip everyone off, they're changing players because they've no prospect of running up a big score, but they're guaranteed to win. You're on a very fine balancing act here.
Basically, you're one of those moments where Davy Burke and his Roscommon management team would take the most flack of all time if they were miles ahead in the game, decided to ease off, Kildare won, and they went out on head-to-head.
It's such a pity that Cork didn't score. It's such a pity that Cork and Limerick didn't draw in the hurling, so that would be forever called doing a Tipperary.
Well, certainly that's how the Clare fans would.
That's how I would call it. Yeah, I'd make it happen.
So I just want to make sure that it's Roscommon across the board. It is Roscommon across the board. Cork and Mayo Sunday at 2:00. Shane has gone for Cork. Come on, Paul.
Well, actually, I was thinking of it, but now.
Oh, you're going to go tactically?
No, I wouldn't do that.
It's Mayo for me.
So are Cork one of the more impressive teams of the championship so far?
How impressive, or slightly better than we thought?
Yes,
they were going to be?
yes.
How do you rate the Kerry performance?
Not impressive as in like, do I think that they are like All Ireland contenders or anything? But I suppose performing above where I thought they were.
I think a lot of that's how you judge the Kerry performance, Mick, and I mean that genuinely is in how well did Kerry play against Cork, or do we give credit for the way that Cork played, and that's why
I thought Kerry were poor, but I was impressed by the fact that Cork just weren't beaten. I thought I was impressed that they kind of stuck to things when it looked like it was going to get away from them at least twice in the game, specifically in the first half, and then actually by the end of it I'm like, geez, they're as good as Kerry. I don't think they're as good a football team as Kerry, but on the day it felt like they were as good as them, you know. So yeah, I think it's a fair question as to where are Kerry could be in big trouble here, but if not, Cork are a team to contend with, you know.
What a day it might be if Louth were to knock Kerry out of the championship. Mickey Hart's Louth, and there's no camera there.
That would be.
There'll be a camera, surely, will there? Someone's phone.
I was really surprised it wasn't picked as one of the streaming games, though.
I think that everybody expects it to be a big win for Kerry, but
Louth made it very difficult for Mayo the last day, though.
They did, and they couldn't do that for the Dubs. It's so weird. It was such a random decision to go and sure, look, we'll go man for man. It just didn't make any sense in the Leinster final at all.
No.
So I don't know. Like, you would expect that they'll.
Maybe there was an element in the Leinster final though where they were like, let's just go and have a cut at it.
But that's not. I've never seen that.
I don't associate with Mickey Hart.
You don't. So like, it doesn't. Maybe the occasion got to them. That's possible in some ways, and I don't think this occasion will get to them. So look, you would hope that they'll put a game up. They have got some of the most exciting forward anyway. Mulroy is sensational. So
when they open up, like I saw them in the semi-final, when they get on the front foot, they're a really good team, and that's why I thought there was sense in the way that they approached the Leinster final. Obviously, look, it didn't work out well for them, but maybe they were thinking we're going to try and get the most from our attacking instincts.
But having watched Dublin struggle against Kildare in the semi-final, it made no sense for them not to just ape that. It made no sense for Kildare not to ape that the last day in Nolan Park as well. So anywho,
this has always been the way with Dublin though, hasn't it? It feels like every time you feel like you have something on it, teams shoot themselves in the foot or something. I think they overtake Dublin matches, but I can't see how Mayo, we're going back to Mayo Cork. I do actually like Cork. I think this could be a close game. I just think that the fact that Mayo had their off day the last day, and the fact that they will assume that Kerry will go and put a score on Louth, something they didn't do, which will nullify the points difference that. Oh no, sure, it'll be head to head. May have topped the group anyway, haven't they?
Well, if all they got to do is win.
Yes.
Win by a point. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, sorry. Okay,
through.
Yeah, win. Yeah, sorry.
Have a win off someone's ass.
No, I think they'll win.
Okay, so we're Mayo across the board. That's in the Gaelic rounds, obviously.
Except for Shane, who went for Cork.
Except for Cork, yeah.
Have that on record.
I think both of us think there's a better performance out of Mayo this week.
Okay, Cavan versus Down, Saturday at 5:15 in the Tailteann.
Could well be a Tailteann Cup decider, Ger.
Shane's gone for Down.
Has he?
Yeah, and he thinks Down are going to win the Tailteann.
Right, I've picked Cavan to win the Tailteann from the start.
Shane has gone for Down.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, Down, I saw Down against Meath. I was randomly watched the last 5 minutes, and they should have won that game. Meath had one of the best performances I've seen of keep ball, and it wasn't boring at all because Down pushed them, and it was in the last 2-3 minutes. And actually, that's what when someone's actually trying to get the ball off, it can be really exciting. And it was actually brilliant play by Meath to keep it. But Down were as good as Meath in that game, let's say. And we think of the three of those teams as the three Tailteann teams. I just think that Cavan still have better footballers than than Down, don't they?
I think so.
What kind of form are they in? I haven't seen them. That's the problem. I've only seen their. That's the problem with the Tailteann Cup here. I've seen more Down than I've seen of Cavan.
So Cavan won their 2 games quite comprehensively against both Offaly and Laois, and that was even when Cavan were already qualified out of the Offaly game, and they ran up 225 during that game. And you just kind of thought the extra week off, as Jared says, the bye week for finishing top of your group may well help Cavan here. Down at a right battle against Longford last week, had to come back in the second half to come through to qualify for the quarterfinals. Now, there'd be 2 arguments on this. If Down go out and perform really well against Cavan, people will say, you know what, Conor Laverty's delighted that they got an extra game and Down have now come in with momentum and they've taken Cavan out. I actually think the Cavan are well placed going into this, but it is one of the games of the weekend. Well, you wouldn't be totally surprised if this goes one way or another, but I'm with Mick on this. I think Cavan are just going to have a little bit too much, even though Down have been very impressive during this summer so far, even going back to that win against Donegal at the start of Ulster.
Are Cavan not miles ahead of Down?
That's what I would have thought up until
miles ahead.
I would have thought so, but then Down probably beat Donegal in the championship, and
I think
and also like Down were in such turmoil last year. It's almost unfair to judge. Well,
that's what I'm saying. Like this is first season of Conor Laverty and first season of having all of the players who weren't playing back, but now like
they met in the championship, what was it, 3 years ago, and it went to a draw, replay, extra time. I think did it even go to a second replay? I don't know, but it was you couldn't break them up. Like there's and it'd be the majority of the same players. Down obviously you would almost say had a year off last year, like with all the messing, and now they're they do seem like they're playing a little bit more to their potential at least. But I'm still going for Cavan. I
think these are roughly on the same level.
Okay, so Cavan and Down for Shane, and everybody's gone for Dublin to beat Carlow in the hurling. Is there anything you want to tell us about that from hurling pod goodness?
He picked it.
Yeah, I picked it. I didn't pick the TV game, which is Tip and Offaly. Tip are going to win. That is a foregone conclusion in the other game. But I just think, right, so Carlow were very impressive with the way they used the ball very directly against Offaly in the Joe McDonagh Cup final.
How do Offaly people say Yarra? What's their version of it?
There's no Yarra here at all.
Piratical.
Right, so Carlow were remarkably good at using the ball efficiently within the Joe McDonagh Cup final, and they're very good ball winners. I think that they can cause Dublin problems, particularly on home soil, but we have only had one team that come out in the Joe McDonagh final who have beaten a team from the All-Ireland series, and that was when Laois won after they won the McDonagh in 2019 against Dublin. I don't know if Dublin are going to be as kind of off the boil going into that game as they were going to O'Moore Park in that match 4 years ago, and Dublin actually finished out the Leinster campaign reasonably well in the end to finish up in third place. So you can't help but think that if Donald Burke and Dublin get rocking in Carlow, they're going to win.
I be honest with that? Like, I watched just the McDonagh Cup final, and it's one of the best games of hurling you'll see this year. It was brilliant. 2 really evenly matched teams. It was brilliant scores, brilliant skill, everything. I really did think, and it's the first one I've watched maybe full McDonagh Cup game in about 2 years, 3 years. I really did feel that there was a noticeable gulf in lots of different things
compared to how Dublin hurled against Galway
top
the week
teams
before.
in the All-Ireland Championship, and I think that Dublin are at least on that level where they can live with a team like that. Now they might bring themselves down. Carlow might give them a game. I don't see a way in which they can win the game. I just don't. I think they're just too far behind. I'd
agree with that, Mick. If Dublin,
for a knockout game, if you catch someone in the group the way Westmeath caught Wexford or whatever, grand. But
I think if Dublin hurl like they did against Galway in the first half,
well, they'd be All-Ireland champions if they could do that over 70 minutes. They were brilliant.
Carlow aren't living with that level. They've not been playing at that pace of hurling all year.
Okay, all right. So everybody's going for the Dubs to win that one. Our games again: Monaghan, Donegal, Roscommon, Kildare, Cork, Mayo, Cavan, Down, Carlow, Dublin. You can play at home if you want to keep your record, and we'll come back to you next Friday with our latest version of Quick Picks, and many complaints from Shane if the results don't go his way, but sure, that's what you get for.
Or he might keep Paul on if he does well.
Exactly, to be on the pale. Right, that's this week's Quick Picks.